What is Star Wars, if not canon retcons persevering?
Well, George Lucas always said whatever was on screen was the only real canon, and I guess Dave Filoni took that nugget and ran with it.
At this point, I just laugh at retcons.
And I laugh at people that get worked up about them.
Yep. All right. So today we have a new episode all about Tales of the Jedi. How are you doing, Brian?
I am doing great. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about Tales of the Jedi. It's been a project we've talked about a couple times on here, and finally got all 6 of the episodes just dropped the other day. So doing pretty good. Got a chance to watch through them and watched a couple of them twice, just so I'd have them fresh in my memory. But how about you? How are you doing on your Tales of the Jedi watching?
I watched it once, and it really reminded me of a fairy tale. It reminded me of Visions, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had, we were texting kind of back and forth after we both first watched it, and yeah, it has, like, kind of like the weird, like, color gradient and stuff, and it felt, yeah, more of, like fairy tale-esque almost, and a lot of, like, environmental effects and stuff on it, so yeah, it felt like it, yeah, maybe had like a toe like over into the Visions realm, not just straight up Clone Wars, because it definitely to me looked and felt a little different than what we saw even like in the last season 7 of Clone Wars.
Yeah, it was kind of like a marriage of the Rebels, Visions, and Clone Wars styles, which I loved.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So Tales of the Jedi, it was 6 parts, and it kind of explores Ahsoka Tano and Count Dooku, who kind of are similar in a lot of ways in the way that they feel about things and the way that they're viewing the Jedis, but then they, obviously branch off and go down separate paths. So this really is kind of a telling of, kind of some of the key moments of each of their sort of enlightenment, I guess, to these facts. And, it's just a story, I guess, going back to Star Wars Celebration and the panel, that Dave Filoni kind of thought up and, wanted to tell these stories.
Yeah, and it's been something rumored for a very long time, too.
Yeah, that's right. We, if you think way back to like last holiday season, there was the Lucasfilm holiday gifts that had the Tales of the Jedi logo on there. No one knew what they were. Obviously, it's the same logo as is on the Tales of the Jedi comic book series. So everyone kind of thought that it was going to have something to do with that. In fact, we did a whole episode with our friend Marcus, episode number 127, where we talked about Tales of the Jedi, the comic line, and what this could be. Some hypothesizing about it, and that comic book line ran from 1993 to 1998. But yeah, this definitely is rooted very much in just the prequel trilogy and kind of in that wheelhouse of what stories Dave Filoni likes to tell us.
Yeah, and we talked about our speculation for what the Tales of the Jedi series could be, and then what it ended up being revealed to be way back in episode 127 with Marcus, so that was a fun episode.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I will say that kind of the animation style here of this, I think, would lends itself really well to kind of the same kind of animation style from the Tales of the Jedi comic book line. So I don't know. I thought that kind of parallel was neat, but yeah, still a little confused on the title, but that's okay. That's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the Tales of the Jedi, the TV, the animated series that we just got, and we're not going to do like a big, huge, deep dive into each of these. There's going to be plenty of podcasts out there that are going to go into this really in depth, but we just kind of wanted to kind of skim through the series and talk about it a little bit, give our thoughts, some of the things that we liked and some of the story beats that we liked. So yeah,
for sure. Should we start at the very beginning?
Yeah, let's start at the very beginning, and the very beginning of everyone's favorite Ahsoka Tano, little baby Ahsoka Tano.
Yeah, I say that because I watched them out of order, so I went 6, 1, 2, 5, 3, 4. So I don't know why I did it, but I did. But
that was your Tales of the Jedi Star Wars ring theory order. Maybe is that possible?
Yeah, I'll write an essay about it. So, but anyways, Ahsoka was born, and it was kind of cool to see her first hunting trip with her mother, Pavti, and kind of see a little bit more of Togruta and the family dynamics on that planet.
Hmm. Yeah, it was really cool kind of seeing, kind of their families and some of the village and things where that was. And one of the things, I guess, we weren't at Celebration, but I guess Dave Filoni had said that one of the things he wanted to do in telling kind of that story about the birth of Ahsoka was to kind of explore like a mother-daughter relationship, because we don't get a lot of those in Star Wars. So I thought that was neat, even though we're just seeing it kind of briefly. And I thought it was really cool. So Ahsoka's mom, Pav T, was voiced by Janina Gavankar, who is the voice of Iden Versio from the Battlefront 2. So I thought that was neat that she was getting back into Star Wars, getting the chance to do another voice.
I love it when people get to double dip, and voice actors have incredible range, and I love getting mother-son stories, like mother-daughter stories, because it just sometimes seems that Star Wars is very front-loaded, maybe overloaded with father-son stories, so I was glad to get something different.
Yeah, and I mean, it was beautiful kind of seeing this town and seeing them go out on this hunting trip, and then you get kind of a very akin to what we just saw with little baby Yoda, Grogu, at the end of Book of Boba Fett, and where she's kind of calming down this big saber-toothed cat kind of thing, and befriending it and having it not eat her, which is good, because you don't want to have baby Ahsoka being eaten, but riding on the saber-toothed cat is much more exciting. And then of course that tells all of the town people then that Ahsoka is a force sensitive Jedi, and that's going to send her on her way. Yeah,
and it's kind of bittersweet. Like, her family believes it's the right thing to do. Sometimes I wonder, would we ever get, young baby, like Kenobi being let go to the Jedi, but it's interesting because they thought they were doing the right thing, and little did they know her generation would be the one impacted by Order 66,
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very, very fateful for, any of the younglings that would have been, coming into the Jedi, at just the wrong time, as she ended up being. So yeah, and then that's kind of where our story with Ahsoka leaves off. I really kind of assumed that these episodes were going to go, kind of 3 on Ahsoka and 3 on Dooku, but they didn't. They kind of split the difference. Yeah. So going into episode 2, which is titled Justice, we're seeing Jedi Master Dooku and his Padawan, his young Padawan Qui-Gon Jinn, are going to kind of resolve a hostage situation, and this one I thought was absolutely gorgeous as they're kind of walking into this town. It felt to me very much like, I don't know, like some 18th century European village that they were going through. I thought that it looked incredible, and the story very impactful, for seeing kind of the real turmoil that's going on inside of Dooku's mind, I guess.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to just be a lapdog of the Senate. He wants to do the right thing, and it's interesting to see where that leads him.
Yeah, for sure. We get the kind of glimpse into his I don't know, I guess obviously it's kind of associated with a dark side ability, as he's force choking him, but really I think kind of the neat thing that these shorts do is it gives you some kind of insight into Dooku's mindset. He wasn't really doing the things that he did necessarily to be evil. He just he saw kind of the writing on the wall with the Jedi, in the same way that Ahsoka did at the towards the end of the Clone Wars there. So really just kind of interesting stuff. And then we double down on that same kind of theme in episode 3, Choices, but this time we're seeing the Jedi Masters, Count Dooku and Mace Windu, heading off to do a little bit more investigating, this time of another senator.
Yeah, and then in 3 Choices, we get to see Count Dooku and Mace Windu interact, and investigate the mysterious death of, was it Master Khatri?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that was interesting. And this is before Mace Windu was put on the council, so it's just interesting to see, like, maybe the more teacher's pet of the pair got put on the council just because they did it more the way the council would approve. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting and kind of neat to get to see them actually doing some kind of investigating, I guess, which is, something that we hear
Yeah.
about and knew about, but we don't get to see, a lot of that kind of thing going on, which is why I think that, Obi-Wan and Attack of the Clones, kind of his arc is so interesting in that film, but, kind of a same kind of a thing there. And then, yeah, obviously, like I said, it's kind of doubling down on, Dooku's kind of feelings towards the Jedi as they're, kind of bending over and appeasing the Senate and doing the bidding. They're not necessarily working for all of the Republic. He's starting to see the corruption and seeing the cracks and, what that's ultimately going to lead to. And then I thought, that the funeral and lowering, her down into the floor there at the Jedi Temple, I thought was really beautiful and really sad. And, kind of the music sweeping through there. Really very, very beautiful. And then ultimately we get into episode number 4, The Sith Lord, and we see kind of the culmination of, these first kind of 2 little pieces of Dooku's story as, he is making his ultimate turn there.
It was interesting to see how the episode The Sith Lord intersects with episode 1. It was all happening off screen, That's my one criticism I have for The Phantom Menace and the prequel trilogy, really, is just, like, I feel like Count Dooku, you should have seen him in The Phantom Menace, and this kind of fixes that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the films, right, he just kind of shows up and and is there as this big bad that you don't ever get any sort of intro to or anything. So yeah, definitely that, and something like this is great because we get to see him, erasing Camino from the archives, which is something that we obviously knew happened, but didn't know how it happened or who did it or what. And then you get this absolutely just stunning looking kind of visual of him standing in the courtyard at the tree, and he's talking about Qui-Gon, who had just fallen at the hands of Darth Maul, talking about the tree, and obviously if he's going to go to the funeral or not, and that the Jedi wouldn't appreciate him going, and that he has to move on. And then obviously we see him then go and speak with Darth Sidious, which is just absolutely great. And you kind of see you see really the conflict within him, just just like Luke Skywalker. But you've seen the way that he feels about the Republic, and how I really think you see him in kind of a positive light, really wanting to do the right thing, really wanting to stand up to corruption, and that ultimately is what he thinks that he's doing, which makes his downfall at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith that much more sad and much more impactful when he realizes that he spent all of this time and kind of turned his back on his the Jedi, the other members of the Jedi, to ultimately, was just played, by this puppet master of the whole thing. I just found it really, really sad, and really, really kind of felt bad for him.
Yeah, and you just kind of see how much like Qui-Gon means to Dooku. I am kind of curious though, like. No one investigate the death of Yaddle in those 10 years. They're just like, oh, we were gone on Naboo, and someone who just stepped down from the council died. But like, that happens all the time, like, we're gonna sleep on that.
That's right. We are too busy. Yaddle probably just ran off somewhere. No time to go look for her. Yeah, that is an interesting question. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, for the
Yeah.
purpose of the story, and it's very tragic, and it's like I said, it definitely kind of hits you in the heart and in the feels. As he's making these decisions that are ultimately going to, end up coming around full circle. Back onto him, and
Yeah.
everything, all the sacrifices and the bad decisions and the damage that he caused ultimately, resulted in nothing basically to prop up a dictator and to not make anything better in the long run at all. So
Yeah.
I just found that really interesting. The Sith Lord episode 4 there, really good. But then we are jumping back then over into Ahsoka as we get into episode number 5. Practice makes perfect, and this one starts off pretty lighthearted, pretty fun, and ends real sad.
Yeah. Um, I don't know, just kind of seeing like Anakin as a teacher. He always thinks outside of the box, really. Not like the standard Jedi, and that's kind of like Team Ahsoka and Anakin, like that duo's strength, I would say.
Yeah, I mean it's neat even just for a minute or two to get to see Anakin and Obi-Wan and Ahsoka back and full Clone War regalia, voiced by James Arnold Taylor and Matt Lancer and Ashley Eckstein, just the whole gang's back together, and Rex is there, of course, and going through this training thing, and you kind of wonder where this is going to go, where this is going to end, and then ultimately it ends there as those doors slide open as we're into the final Clone Wars arc, and you see all of her troopers there in just these tiny little orange helmets, and it's very sad, and it's going to happen when they walk through that door. So I thought that one was probably the most maybe ultimately like cinematic of them in the way that
Yeah.
it kind of played off of what we knew to touch on, and kind of tied it back into something else that we'd gotten before. It wasn't as standalone as some of the other ones were.
Yeah. It connected to the greater whole, you know? Even though I think, like, the Dooku story was more intriguing to me, the Ahsoka tales really pull on life, death, everything, So, and
Yeah.
the greater canon.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you see then kind of the parallels, right, of the decisions that Dooku made, and how they ultimately went on to affect the decisions that Ahsoka made in leaving the Jedi and then coming back, for one kind of final hurrah to help out, and what that ultimately led to, and then what it ultimately leads to then Episode 6, Resolve, which is as sad can get, for sure, because it starts out on the most sad thing of all time, Padme's funeral.
Sad Naboo sounds,
Yeah, yeah.
It was beautifully animated. It's such a beautiful, haunting image, and they captured it perfectly. And to see Mon Mothma and Bail there, because it makes sense they were there, And then Ahsoka being there just adds the cherry on a very, very sad Sunday.
A sad ice cream sundae, yeah, for sure. And then you get the gut punch of Bail asking her why she risks coming back, and Ahsoka just turns and says she was my friend, which is the saddest line probably in all of Star Wars now. I don't know for sure, but it was really sad. And then you get kind of their little exchange where he's giving her the communicator to to come back and serve as what is their code word?
Fulcrum.
Fulcrum, that's right. Yeah, to serve as Fulcrum, and then we see her at her farming planet there, disarming the Inquisitor. To kind of wrap that up, and gets her final exchange with Bail Organa there. But yeah, just 6 really kind of neat little snippets, I guess, of different aspects of these two characters' lives who. Like I mentioned, are kind of similar, kind of run parallel, but then at the end they choose to go different ways, and ultimately, has big ramifications for themselves, for the Jedi Order, for the whole galaxy. So, Cassia, we talked, a lot before this came out about what we thought it might be, what it could be, what we wanted it to be, but now we've had it. We've gotten to watch all 6 of these. They all came out on the same day, which was cool, and we watched them all. So what kind of were your general takeaways, I guess, of the show? What'd you like? What didn't you like? Or just some overall themes? Or take it away.
I just really liked that it was like a miniature fairy tale, simple, and simplicity is probably the highest form of complexity, which is something I've learned in my life. I used to be like, complexity, let me translate this into Latin, to like look refined and smart, but simplicity is probably, that's why fairy tales, I think, are so powerful, is because they kind of surround us, but sometimes because it's simple, we overlook things. And I just dug these 6 little snippets, and I thought they were cool, and I learned a lot about Dooku and Ahsoka, and they're very similar, but they go about their journeys in very different ways with very different consequences, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of with you there. I really liked kind of the smaller scale kind of storytelling. I liked, like you said, they were kind of simplistic in a way, but complex, I guess, in kind of the overall kind of scheme and connectivity of things. So I really liked that. I really liked kind of getting back into these characters now. Obviously, I love the stuff with Ahsoka. Now, we've gotten a lot more of her story, so I was really interested, mostly, especially when we found out kind of the direction that this was going to be taking, to get more of Dooku's story, because, I think from what we saw, between the Clone Wars and the films, he was an interesting character, but you still didn't really get like a good sense of who he was or why he was doing the things that he did, and kind of the reasoning behind those. So I really liked just kind of getting a little bit more kind of background and backstory on the character of Count Dooku, and then of course how that relates then to Qui-Gon Jinn, who's probably the most gray of the canon Jedi that we have. So I thought that was really interesting. And then as far as just the show goes, it was gorgeous. We talked a little bit about that. It was kind of like this, kind of like this mixture of Visions and Rebels and Clone Wars and Bad Batch. It was like they took all of the animation styles and they put them into a blender and spun it up, and they came up with this. But like some of the stuff just looks like staggeringly good, like the fire and the smoke effects through things. I love the way that they designed like the towns, and kind of the droids were kind of older looking and older feeling. And I thought that was, really just great and really kind of interesting, and really kind of a fun take on things, right? It didn't feel like, one for one. It felt like something different, and it felt like, I don't want to say like monumental, but it felt like it was different and specific enough that this, I don't think, is going to be the last of Tales of the Jedi that we see.
Yeah, who knows which characters it's gonna follow, but it's such a beautiful poster. Anyone can be the Jedi, I think. What if we get the Rise of the Rebellion era, What if we get the sequel trilogy era? What if we get another era that doesn't exist yet? What if we get Knights of the Old Republic, which is originally where Tales of the Jedi that originated in the first place,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I would like to think that, and I hope that, and like I said, it feels like something bigger than just this one-off, I don't know, hour and 15-minute long thing that we got that are released all on the same day. And partially, I think that maybe that's the case because we're getting a second season of Visions after the first season of Visions.
Oh, we are?
I want to say,
gosh! We're getting second?
Yeah, we're getting more Visions. So So I wonder if these are just going to kind of piggyback. So maybe you get Visions like every other year, and you get these every other year to kind of go in between and fill them out. You had a lot of the same kind of people that had worked on Clone Wars and Rebels. So Nathaniel Villanueva, Saul Ruiz, Charles Murray had done a lot of stuff in Star Wars animation, so I wonder if maybe it was kind of a coming together to tell these little stories that Dave Filoni wanted to tell, and then kind of pass the torch on through animation as he goes on to, kind of this, I don't know, kind of story overseer kind of thing at Lucasfilm. I don't know for sure, but to me that's kind of the vibe I got from it. Like it felt like something more consequential than just October 26th you sit down to watch these 6 things and then that's the last we ever get of it.
Yeah. And Tales of the Jedi, it doesn't say like tale, it's tales, it can be multiple seasons, and it doesn't say of Luke Skywalker, it's Jedi. It can be any Jedi, in their journey. And I think that's going to be cool, and I hope we get more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just one other kind of quick thing I wanted to mention. Kevin Kiner is incredible. The music for this thing was spectacular. Kevin Kiner he did like all the Clone Wars music, he does the Bad Batch music, he did this music. Really, really good. And I think that all of that soundtrack, I think, is kind of... I don't know. Hopefully it's somewhere soon to listen to, because I thought that it was really, really great and really kind of set the tone for these things. So kudos to Mr. Kiner for that. So I don't know, Cassia, that was Tales of the Jedi. Did we do it justice? Did we go through the story good enough to kind of touch on it and give our thoughts, do you think?
I think it's a really good show. My voice probably gave out, but I did my best, and I think you made a really good outline, but everyone should just watch this and decide for themselves if our podcast is worthy, of these great 6 episodes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, give these a watch. Obviously, they're all very short, so it doesn't take you very long to get through all of them. And I think that they're nice little addendums. One of my favorite kind of Star Wars stories is the Legends of Luke Skywalker, because they're telling these tales of Luke Skywalker, and some of them are true or true adjacent or completely fabricated, but it doesn't matter. They're just stories in this universe, and I love anytime we get more stories in the universe. So check them out. Let us know in the comments or on social media what you thought of the Tales of the Jedi series, and thanks very much for tuning in. May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.